want to make sure that we're looking at, coaches the same way. And you want to view, black coaches not only as leaders of men and those type, but like an offensive genius, or I don't know, or view them as like a CEO. That's one thing that I used to really like irk me out when people used to talk about. I worked under James Franklin at Penn State a lot of times, and things that come up about him as a head coach a lot of times are about recruiting, right? And just how great of a recruiter he is and different things of that nature. And it's never talked about how much of a CEO he is, like how on point he is from top to bottom, how organized he runs his operation, and just where people fit, and just the succinctness of his operation, like as a CEO, and how organized, like I said, things are, and being able to understand the different political channels within college football. From a person that, so today we're going to jump into it about Deion Sanders and the move to Colorado. What does it mean for college football? Why are people upset? And why we should probably recalibrate how we look at college football coaches, or just football coaches in general, as we're going through this football journey. So let's jump into it a little bit. First things first, congratulations, Deion Sanders, man, making that move to Colorado is a big deal. And shout outs to Colorado, the third black head coach in a row that they've hired. I guess not much success, but they are making an intentional effort of hiring black coaches, and the only Power 5 school that's done that, 3 in a row. So kudos to them. We just want to jump into it a little bit, talking about coaches. We would think someone like Deion Sanders getting a job at Colorado would just be unanimous support, just excitement for him and the progression through his career. But, it's kind of met with a little bit of backlash from people thinking that he kind of used JSU, or he was pulling on the emotional strings and getting people involved, getting Travis Hunter there, his kid there, and then just picking up and leaving. And it's an interesting dynamic in football, or in all sports, but it's especially football, just the relationship of a coach to the player and how it transitions throughout the journey into higher level sports. And to be completely honest, when you first get into football, a lot of times, a lot of parents that are getting their kids into the game, there's a level of football teaching young boys to grow up, right? A level of toughness, a level of discipline, competitiveness. You can get in there. A lot of times guys weed themselves out. Guys that don't like physicality, don't want to play anymore. A lot of basketball players are birthed from the football field, they'd like to say. But I'm going on to say that a lot of times with that, the trust of the coach that's telling you to do those things has to be high, almost like a father figure. And that's where I think, as spectators and individuals that are in the game, get it a little messed up as they continue to grow within the game. Because let's get it completely clear. College coaching is a profession. Once you get to high school and you're at a high levels program or college coach, whatever that may be, that is a profession. Like they've been putting in time, they're putting in hours, and they're getting paid to produce a result, wins at the end of the day. And you're there to provide value and help them win. And they're supposed to help you become the best player that you can be. And somewhere in there that gets messed up, because we know in the recruiting process, it's a relationship. So you're having the same type of relationship that you would have with a coach. You hear a lot of players say like, oh, he was like a father figure to me, or this person was that to me, or they just feel some type of void in their life. And to be completely honest, those are bonus points, and they don't necessarily have to do that. They're there to just make sure that you are hitting your maximum potential on the football field and to win games. And that's not to say major football, high school coaches should not still have that level of trust, and there's that need there. But I'm saying from a spectator or an individual that's in the sport, and what we should expect from coaches. Like, they are there to win games and make sure that you are performing at your best of your ability. And be clear that it is a competitive profession. So like, to have an opportunity to move to the next level has nothing to do with an emotional attachment to a place and everything like that. And a lot of times that only is held to black coaches. And that's a disadvantage, a competitive disadvantage for them, whether it's them trying to maintain that status or keeping it real at this school or going to that school, instead of just trying to be the best coach that they can be, build the best staff that they can have, and the best ecosystem around what they're trying to produce. So that's the one thing going through this thing. Just remember that college coaching and coaching is a profession, and judge them as such. Judge them as executives. Judge them how are they producing on the field? Not always the personality, right? A lot of times we think of coaching being a calling, and for some it is, but a lot of times it is a profession, and the lines get blurred because there's a lot of money going around, and the critique and the evaluation of coaches is very strenuous. As somebody that kind of goes through that process and does that a lot, just make sure that you are aware of that. So when you're picking your school and going different places, yes, you want that coach to be cool. You want that coach to be able to relate to you and do all those different things. But at the end of the day, is that coach going to make you the best player that you can get, and see if he's going to be able to leave at one point based on his ability as a coach? Because at any point, like if you're at a company, if you're working at, I don't know, an exec at Nike and you're a high level and he's doing a good job, like they might leave, and it's nothing personal. They're not doing it against you. But they're looking for that next opportunity. And that's the same way that we need to evaluate coaches. And that's the same mind frame in which you need to approach the recruiting process, approach the college game when you're in there moving up and before you enter the transfer portal and all those different things. Because I've seen a lot of guys' careers derail from just the relationship of a coach, and they think it's, this coach really cares about me. And they do care about you, but I'm saying in a different way, where if you get benched or if the coach yells at you or the coach leaves, it's like heartbreaking, because there's almost to the point of that coach was in the wrong bucket to begin with. And that happens a lot in football for the reasons that we talked about at the beginning, whether it's the physicality of it, whether it's where people enter the game of football at a young age and where they come from in different aspects. But just compared to other sports, it's not the same, right? Like whether it's a track coach or basketball coach, different things of that nature, it seems like more of a partnership and understanding that we're in this together and we're moving along. There's a deconstructing process that happens in football where it's like we got to all be on the same team. Everyone has to do this because it's the greatest team sport. And with that, again, that coach sends the shift in his true identity and what he's supposed to be to you on that team. So like, let's keep things in perspective, right? And so the last thing, Black coaches are more than just motivators and leaders of men. And that's a good thing, right? Like we hear all the different stuff about these tags when like someone like Deion that goes to Colorado, like the things that we hear is like, oh, he was supposed to build up the HBCUs. He's supposed to lead men. He's the greatest motivator. Even the Colorado Buff social media or somebody that covers their team say like, look at this energy, and just kind of painting Deion as a personality. And they do that a lot of times with coaches, whether it's a personality type of guy or a leader of men, a player's coach, and all these different things. And there's it's like this second sense of responsibility that they have to build up the community, to do all these different things. And a lot of times their white counterparts aren't held to that same standard, whether it's just to build the community or whatever it is. It's just kind of get the job, do the best that you can. And it's about wins and losses, and you go, you build your staff, and you do your thing. Like you judge the players the same way, and that's the way you move. So I just want to make sure that we're looking at, coaches the same way. And you want to view, Black coaches not only as leaders of men and those type, but like an offensive genius, or I don't know, or view them as like a CEO. That's one thing that I used to really like irk me out when people used to talk about. I worked under James Franklin at Penn State a lot of times, and the things that come up about him as a head coach a lot of times are about recruiting, right? And just how great of a recruiter he is and different things of that nature. And it's never talked about how much of a CEO he is, like how on point he is from top to bottom, how organized he runs his operation, and just where people fit, and just the succinctness of his operation, like as a CEO, and how organized, like I said, things are, and being able to understand the different political channels within college football from a person that's judged or had to evaluate coaches at the XFL, whether it's reporting down from the commissioner to Bob Stoops, and having someone like Pep Hamilton call my phone at 1 a.m. to argue about, some of the rules that I wrote into the players rule book. Shout out to Pep on that. But the big thing that I'm trying to drill in is that it's more than just being a motivator and a recruiting coach for a Black coach. And like they have the ability to lead organizations and be leaders of men, be CEOs. I say leaders of men again, but like, again, a CEO is a leader of men or a leader of an organization. And that's what a lot of these head coaches are. And see them as such and judge them as such. And at the same time, like there's business decisions in this game that happen where people get to move up and make their next move in their career. So that's my take on Prime going up to Colorado, man. Great move for him. And it's an amazing opportunity. If he's in the coaching profession to be the best coach that he is, this is the steps that you're supposed to take. And kudos and keep going. And I hope he has a great career at Colorado and keep moving on up at the next steps. And you guys remember, like I said, college coaching and coaching is a profession. Just make sure you put these coaches in the right box. Like, it's a business decision. You don't go to your insurance broker or someone at your job and, I don't know, hope for them to kind of give you life advice and different things of that. Like, no, they have a value that they're providing for you, and you have a value that you're supposed to provide to them, whatever that may be. But that's the same thing with college coaches. It's a profession. And yes, there's some good ones. There's some cool ones that really care about you outside the field. And that's a part of the evaluation. But them looking for jobs and looking for different opportunities and how they're being judged, that's a daily basis thing, and that you have to look at. And remember, judge coaches as executives, man. Like the same way you would judge a boss at a job and all those different things. Leave the fluff at the door. It's a bonus to have someone that you trust, someone that you really connect with, and that you can play for. Like, those are obviously the mainstays of what it is, but make sure that you're evaluating the right situations. And last but not least, man, like when you're looking at different coaches and they're leaving, and just make sure we're holding everyone to the right standards, right? Like, black coaches are more than just motivators, leaders of men, and player coaches, right? Like, a lot of them have some really high IQs, are really creative about how they come up with their offenses. They got great defensive schemes, great X and O's guys, and can do the leaders of men and the motivational aspect and culture building and running the ship like a CEO. So let's not like cheapen it up when things are like that. Things like a Deion Sanders is moving from an HBCU to a Colorado and thinking that, he has to just stay in the same spot. He made a place better to continue to move on. So like the next person that does move in can operate and grow that place and leave it better than they had it. So that's where we leave it here. And those are the three things. And like I said, just recalibrate where you put these football coaches at as you're coming up through the ecosystem. So I've seen it, like, again, when I was playing, I've seen it a lot of times where just the relationship seems to be off-centered a little bit so there's departures and splits that it kind of causes little rifts. But like, this is a great opportunity for Deion Sanders. This is a great thing for black college coaches in general, just the way he's moving the game, the way he's coaching, and the way he's representing. So shout outs to him. And you guys check in for more videos on the Blue Chip Academy, LIG Sports Group, everything talking at the intersection of business and sports, talent acquisition. Found it here. Again, I'm your host, Justin King. Have a great one.